Okay, hi. So this is my wife, Michaela. She's an ESFP. I'm an INFJ, and so we've had some difficulties.
Some.
And I think once I discovered my personality type and her personality type, it explained a lot and explained why we have some miscommunications. So I'm gonna ask her 20 questions, and she's gonna answer them as honestly and as genuinely as she can, and I'm not gonna hold any of it against her. So I just want it to be. I didn't even let her see the questions. I just want her to answer them authentically. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, what was your first impression of me when you met me? Of my personality.
Oh, I don't think I paid much attention to your personality as I did.
I mean, like in the first maybe like month or so. Like when you were first getting to know me, what was your impression of my personality?
I think I liked it back then, but I think it's because I liked you. If that makes sense.
Okay. How has that impression changed as we've gotten to know each other?
Changed. I don't like your personality because you're too uptight and you think deeply about everything and you're always in your own little world. And I've told him before that sometimes I feel like I have a roommate and not a husband because he just is in his own world and he's being Mike, I guess.
Okay. Do I contradict myself?
Sometimes, but not usually.
Okay.
Usually once you say something that's... Because you're one way or the other. There's no in between, Mike. It's like yes or no, Mike. There's no in between. So once you're set that way, you're pretty well set that way. You don't really contradict yourself.
Okay.
And if you do, it's only because you're wording something wrong. And then you change it and say, that's not what I meant. Like yesterday with your cat herding.
Herding cats?
Herding cats. You changed it like 3 times. You weren't trying to contradict yourself, but you just had to find the right words.
Yeah. Okay. How do I deal with conflict?
You don't. You're a turtle, and when someone starts conflict or argument, you just like tuck yourself in there, and then sometimes you'll peek out. And if we're not arguing or there's no conflict, you'll come out. But if there is, you'll go back in the room. Like, for example, we go to my family's house. They live about 3 hours away, and my dad's a narcissist, and so there's always a lot of chit-chat arguing, and he just hides away in our room that we stay in, and he'll peek his head out, and if there's still conflict, he'll go back in the room.
Okay. Can you describe my sense of humor?
It's not very good. Your sense of humor, you like dumb, deep humor that doesn't make any sense to anyone else, but you find it hilarious.
Okay. What is something that I do regularly that makes absolutely no sense to you?
I don't know.
Like maybe something that you're like, why do you do that? Like that's, what is the point? Like, why do you keep doing that all the time? Is there anything that comes to mind?
No, you're just kind of like that all the time. I'm like, I don't really know why you're doing this or what you're doing.
So you feel
it's
like
just every day.
I feel like everything I do, you don't know why I'm doing it.
Some things I do, but most of the time, like when you took that test, the 16 personalities, he took it 50 times. I promise you he did. I didn't understand. And after the 10th time, I'm like, why are you still doing this? It's giving you the same thing.
Am I good at remembering things?
No. Nope. Not even in the slightest.
No?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Just big no.
All right. Am I good at balancing work, life, and play?
I want to say no, but you might think you do, but I don't.
Well, like, okay.
You're good at balancing work life, but you're bad at balancing fun, wife, and kid.
Okay. That's fair. How do I handle criticism?
Depends on how the person says it. If they say it in a non-attacking tone, you handle it well. And I think if it comes from your boss or from a coworker, you handle it well. But if it comes from me or maybe a person in my family or your family, you think it comes from like meanness, like a place of like trying to be mean or like hurt you. So you don't take it that well. And then usually, like if it's your mom or something, you tell me and I'm like, well, that's not how she was mean. And I have to kind of like coax you into like it came from a place of love, not trying to hurt you.
Okay. I would agree. Am I spontaneous?
Nope.
Just no?
Sometimes you are. Like, you brought me donuts the other day, but usually, like, you're not, oh, let's go out, let's go do something. Usually it's, like, me asking you, like, hey, can we do this? And usually say, I'm too tired, I don't want to go out, I don't want to be around people.
So I'm spontaneous. I can allow myself to be spontaneous in my own way.
Yeah, it depends on your mood, like what type of mood you're in.
But if you wanted to throw something out that's spontaneous, you get resistance?
Most of the time.
Okay.
Like,
so maybe it's not really, would it come off as like spontaneous to you, but really it just seems spontaneous because I already planned it out and I'm doing it?
Probably.
Okay.
But we had a grease fire in our apartment New Year's Eve, and one of the nights that we were there for like 5 nights or something.
At the hotel?
At the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we stayed in a hotel. And my mom and dad were gonna watch Owen. I'm like, oh, great, we have a night to ourselves. Do you want to go do something? Like, let's go do something. We got, he took me to get a septum piercing, which I took out yesterday. And then after that, and I'm like, oh, can we go do something? He said, no, I'm too tired. I'm like, we don't have our child. Let's go do something. We're free. And he didn't. So no, you're not spontaneous. But if you have it planned that I don't know about, it can come off spontaneous.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
But you're not spontaneous.
Okay. So I didn't have a way to word this. I'm not trying to call myself this, but how would you describe like my level of intellect? Like, what would you say that it is?
Like, how smart are you?
Like, do you think that I'm intelligent?
Yes.
Or okay.
I think you're very smart.
In what way?
Well, like, you're really good at like technician type stuff, like figuring out like whatever you do, like with the boxes and making them and like making a plan. And he's really good at math. Like, he can do crazy math problems in his head. He's very spatial intelligent. Like, you have a lot of like, you're very like spatially intelligent. And I don't know.
Okay.
He's smart. Just put he's smart.
Okay. Would you describe me as a person who goes with the flow?
You do, because it's your personality type to not like conflict. Like, you don't like conflict, so you do go with the flow. But you usually always have an opinion about it, or I hear it later like, well, I really didn't want to do that, or like, I hear about it later. But in the moment, you go with the flow because you don't like conflict. Is that true? Yeah.
Have I ever overanalyzed something?
Every moment of every second of every thought is a overanalyzing process in your head. It's never like I tell you something and you're like, okay, yeah. It's I tell you something and then you go in mic mode and you're like, well, did she really mean that? Well, what was her meaning behind that? It's just a never ending process. So yes.
Yep. Am I good at multitasking?
No, you are not. You're terrible at it. You have to do one thing at a time, And if I ask him to, like he could be working on something, I'm like, oh, well, can you get to this? And he'll totally forget that I even said it, or he blocked me out so he didn't hear me say it. But usually he gets kind of frustrated, like if he's doing something, I ask him to do something else, or like while he's doing that, he literally can't do it.
Okay. Would you describe me as decisive or indecisive?
Some things you are decisive about when you know what you want, but you become very, like with picking this guitar, that it goes from, I like this one, no, I played this one again, I don't like it. Well, I really liked this one. Well, you just go back and forth so much. So in certain areas, you are very indecisive because you want to know, like, who made it, how it was made, how it plays, what are the whatever stuff about guitars I don't know. And you go through each one, and then you still can't make a decision. But then other things, like, you know what you want. Well, I don't know what an example would be of that, because there's not many of those.
So am I just indecisive until I make my decision, and then I've made my decision? Is that,
well, yeah,
or
I
is
guess
it, or
so.
is it you're saying that I'm indecisive in most cases,
Yes.
and then randomly I'll be very decisive about one thing?
Yes. But like we were talking about last night, there could be 10 things in a row, like, that I have to choose from. Let's say, like, it's a piece of jewelry. And I'll get to the second one, I'll be like, yep, that's one I want, and I take it. And you're like, well, don't you want to look at these?
And you wouldn't even look at
I
the
wouldn't
other
even
eight?
look at the other ones. I'm like, no, this is the one I want. Like, I'll take that one. And I take it and I leave. And then Mike's over here like, let's look at this one and this one and this one, which is probably most people. But he, and then he, at the end of the day, he still might not be able to decide because there's too many options or there's too many variables that come with each option.
So then what do I do?
You just don't get anything. You don't get anything.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds like me. How do I, or do I, display my emotions?
You don't usually. And if you do, it's not in front of me or anyone. Usually it's in your car, or you call your mom and talk to your mom. But he usually doesn't display emotions.
But do you think I'm emotional?
I think you are highly emotional. You just don't show them.
Okay. How would you describe my personality to a stranger in 2 sentences?
Why do you do this to me? To a stranger?
Yeah, someone who's never met me. And someone who knows nothing about me.
I don't want to say anything bad.
No, just like what would you if you were like, oh,
stay far away from this person. He's an INFJ. And if you're a woman, do not get involved with an INFJ because it's not the best. But I love you, and I'm glad that I'm married to you.
I love you too. What is the most frustrating thing about my personality?
Everything.
Okay, one thing. Pick like
you're philosophical, and I'm not. You want to dive deep into everything and debate everything and talk, and I'm like, okay, give me my answer. There's nothing more for me to say, and you keep hounding, I guess. Like, you keep pushing. And will you give the example what you gave last night about the clay?
Oh, like so I'll be asking her questions, she'll give me an answer, and then it's like I have this shovel and I'm digging and I'm trying to dig deeper, but the ground is only like 4 inches deep, and then it's just stone, and I just keep digging and I just keep getting like the same answer or no answer, or I'll try digging in a different spot and I might get just a little bit, but it just doesn't go any further.
Yes.
And that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of describes.
Or that you forget things. Actually, maybe forgetfulness, because you are so forgetful. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
So he does funeral honors. And yesterday, which is like you fold the flag, present, salute, play a bugle or taps or whatever it's called. For the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to wear a white t-shirt. And he laid one out before he left on the table right over there. And he went into the room and then walked right past it and didn't even remember that he put it there. But luckily he had one in his car, that he
because I
could
didn't
use.
because I didn't take them out to wash them because I forgot. So my forgetfulness
And
helps
the reason why
sometimes.
the reason why you only had them in the first place is because he forgot his T-shirt, so he had to go to Walmart and buy a pack of 3. So don't let it fool you if he just had them in his car. No, there's a story behind that one too.
It was dumb luck.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about my personality?
My favorite thing about your personality, I don't know if I like your personality to have a favorite thing.
I mean, just anything,
I like
anything that I
you.
do. I just mean, I don't
I like
mean.
your butt.
I mean, like what is something about me?
You're kind and you're very forgiving. So when I'm grumpy and I take things out on you, which I know I shouldn't, he's very forgiving.
Okay. What's the one thing you wish you could improve about my personality? Just one.
Your forgetfulness. That's, or, oh, I don't know, it's so hard.
Just get one.
I can't. They're all terrible. The one, no, just probably your forgetfulness.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that I would change. Just because it's so hard. It makes life so much more complicated.
Yeah.
Well,
Is that all?
that's all 20. So in the future, we'll do one where I ask her questions, because something that I noticed about ESFPs.
You did ask me questions.
No, I'm gonna have a video. Well, I'm gonna have a video
Where I ask
you
you
ask
questions.
me questions about you. That's what
Yes.
I meant.
Okay. Can I
So-
just use the same questions? I can't.
Well, I'll help you make some
Okay.
questions.
Well, then you already know.
Well, okay.
I'll just go
then
online and find questions.
Maybe you'll just have to ask me questions that are important to you, but they don't have to necessarily relate to my personality. But when you ask them, my personality will show itself in those
Okay.
questions. So one thing I noticed about ESFPs, unlike INFJs, is that if you go on YouTube and you search up ESFP, there is almost no content, because we were talking about this yesterday. Her as an ESFP, she does not care to know anything deeper than, yeah, I'm an ESFP. Like, it explains some things, but I'm not going to spend 13 hours on YouTube a day looking up INFJ or
Not like you
ESFP
do.
stuff like an INFJ would. So maybe I can convince her to do some ESFP content, so there can be some ESFP content out there as well.
Only if
Yeah?
you see all the stuff behind it, and I'll present it.
Okay, I'll do the legwork.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
Bye.